Wait a minute, what's going on here? Have you ever pondered the question, what villain was terrifying because they were right? Well, so did over 100,000 people who tuned into my most popular video, an AskReddit exploration that posed this very question. The response was overwhelming, and the answers? There were a lot! The intrigue and passion behind the debate were so captivating that I decided to take a closer look. So, buckle up as we dive deeper into the psyche of these complex characters, starting with one of Disney's most infamous villains, Scar from The Lion King. Are you ready to uncover what really makes a villain tick? Welcome to the shadowy corners of the Pride Lands, where lions roar, hyenas cackle, and uncles plot to overthrow their brothers. Today we're unraveling the twisted tale of Scar, the most fabulous yet misunderstood villain in the Disney menagerie. The black sheep, or should we say the dark-maned lion, of his family, Scar's legacy is one of ambition, betrayal, and a failed reign that would make even the most seasoned rulers cringe.
Do it again. Mufasa! Mufasa, Mufasa, Mufasa! It tingles me.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
From his rivalry with the king of beasts, Mufasa, to his uneasy alliance with the hyenas, Scar's journey is a roller coaster of dreams and nightmares, wisdom and folly and power and downfall. Was Scar a visionary who sought justice and equality? Or was he a misguided despot whose thirst for the throne led to his ruin? Or perhaps, just maybe, was Scar the product of a system that had pushed him too far into the dark? We'll dive into his origin story, where a young cub named Taka was scarred, both literally and figuratively, shaping him into the Scar we all love to hate. We'll explore his revolutionary ideology and the dark methods that tainted it. And finally, we'll ask the tough questions. Was Scar really the villain, or was he just a pawn in a grander Game of Thrones? In the sprawling savanna of the Pride Lands, family is everything, and destiny is king. But not all lions are born equal, and our tragic anti-hero Scar, formerly known as Taka, knows this all too well. The younger brother to the mighty Mufasa, Taka was always second in line, overshadowed and overlooked. While Mufasa was groomed to be king, Taka was left to wonder about his place in the circle of life. His name itself means waste or want in Swahili, a cruel reminder of his perceived insignificance. But Taka was not one to be sidelined. Intelligent, cunning, and eloquent, he possessed qualities that went beyond brute strength. He had ideas, dreams, and the seeds of rebellion in his heart if only someone had listened. The turning point came with the scar that marked his face and renamed him Scar, a symbol of his pain, his rage, and his ambition. The details of how he got that scar remain shrouded in mystery, but its impact on his psyche is clear. It was a transformation, a new identity, a declaration of his intent. Scar's relationship with Mufasa was fraught with tension, jealousy, and unspoken resentment. While Mufasa embraced his role and the traditional ways, Scar questioned, challenged, and sought more. He was not content to be a mere spectator in the game of power. He wanted to change the rules. His alliance with the hyenas, the outcasts of the Pride Lands, was more than a strategic move. It was a statement, a bond with those who, like him, were marginalized and misunderstood. Scar saw something in them that others failed to recognize, or perhaps he saw himself. The story of Scar is not merely a tale of a villain's descent into darkness. It's a journey of self-discovery, of ambition gone awry, and a cry for recognition in a world that seemed determined to put him in his place. But as we'll see, Scar's vision was not without its flaws. His desire to rule was entangled with his own insecurities and unresolved trauma, and his methods would prove to be his downfall. So was Scar merely a product of his circumstances, driven to villainy by neglect and ambition, or was there something more sinister at play in his heart? As we explore why Scar may have been right and why he may have been wrong, we'll uncover the layers of a character that is as complex as the savannah is vast.
Help me! Long live the king.
Let's take a walk on the wild side and venture into the murky waters of Scar's philosophy, where everything's fair in love and the Pride Lands. If you think ruling a kingdom is all about lavish feasts and endless naps, think again. For Scar, it was a battle of ideas, a revolution waiting to happen. First, let's talk equality. Scar's vision was to bring the hyenas, the pariahs of the animal kingdom, into the fold. In Scar's New World Order, there were no outcasts, no us and them. He wanted to break down the barriers, even if it meant tearing down the old ways. But wait, wasn't Scar a manipulator, a liar? Yes, he was all of those things, but let's not forget the system he was fighting against. The circle of life had its elite, its hierarchy, and its privileges. And Scar, despite his royal blood, knew what it was like to be left out in the cold. Scar's lust for power wasn't just about the throne, it was about changing the status quo. He didn't want to be Mufasa, he wanted to be something else, something new. His reign was a statement, a rebellion against tradition, a cry for a different kind of justice. And let's face it, Mufasa's Pride Lands weren't all sunshine and rainbows. There were cracks in the system, unseen but felt by those who dwelt in the shadows. Scar saw those cracks, and he sought to fill them, not with more of the same, but with a new vision, a new hope. Now, we must ask ourselves, was Scar's ideology flawed? Of course it was. Was his method questionable? Absolutely. But before we judge him, let's recognize the courage it took to challenge the norms, to question the unspoken rules, and to dream of something beyond what was handed to him. The tragedy of Scar is not just his downfall, but the downfall of a dream that could have been something more, a dream that was lost in the chaos of ambition, the hunger for power, and the taint of bitterness. As we delve into why Scar may have been wrong, we'll see how a vision can turn into a nightmare, how a revolutionary can become a tyrant, and how a lion who dared to dream can lose himself in the very thing he sought to change.
Is that a challenge?
Temper.
I wouldn't dream of challenging you. Well, as far as brains go, I got the lion's share, but when it comes to brute strength, I'm afraid I'm at the shallow end of the gene pool.
It's easy to be seduced by a charismatic lion with a silver tongue and a plan to change the world. But as the saying goes, the road to the elephant graveyard is paved with good intentions. Now it's time to peel back the layers of Scar's revolution and uncover the flaws, the contradictions, and the darkness that lay beneath. Scar's dream of equality and change was bold and noble, but the execution, that's where our cunning lion lost his way. From plotting his brother's murder to manipulating a young Simba, Scar's methods were anything but honorable. And let's talk about those hyenas, shall we? Scar's alliance with them was more than a political maneuver. It was a dangerous game. In his quest for change, Scar lost sight of balance, of responsibility. He invited chaos into the Pride Lands, and chaos did not come alone. His reign was marked by famine, discontent, and a kingdom on the brink of collapse. The very system he sought to overthrow was replaced by something far worse. Scar's vision became a mirage, a shadow of what could have been. The tragedy of Scar is not just in his flawed ideology, but in his inability to see beyond his own ambition. He became consumed by power, blinded by revenge, and lost in a labyrinth of his own making. Scar's downfall was not just the result of his enemies or fate. It was a self-inflicted wound, a consequence of choices made and roads taken. He was a lion who dared to dream, but failed to see the cost of those dreams. Was Scar's heart in the right place? Perhaps. But his paws were stained with choices that led him down a path from which there was no return. His vision, once a beacon of hope, became a twisted nightmare, a cautionary tale of how a desire for change can turn into a hunger for power. In the end, Scar's reign was not a revolution, but a descent into darkness. A story of a lion who could have been a hero but became a villain. A story of a dream that turned into a tragedy. As we wrap up our exploration of Scar's complex character, we must ask ourselves, what lessons can we learn from his story? How do we balance ambition with responsibility, change with wisdom, and dreams with reality? The answers lie not just in the Pride Lands, but in our hearts and minds.
My friend.
Friends? I thought he said we were the enemy.
No, let me explain. No, you don't understand. No, I didn't mean... No!
And there you have it, the intricate tapestry of Scar, the enigmatic lion who walked a fine line between villain and visionary. We've roamed the Pride Lands, delved into his origin, explored his ideology, and dissected his flaws. Now it's time to offer a final roar on the matter. Scar's story is a heartbreaking one, a tale of neglect, ambition, and a longing for recognition. It's hard not to feel for a lion who was treated like the runt of the litter, always in the shadow of his regal brother. In many ways, Scar's actions were a response to a world that seemed determined to cast him aside. But understanding is not the same as justifying. While we can sympathize with Scar's pain and even agree with some of his ideas, the way he went about pursuing his dreams was where he stumbled. The murder, manipulation, and alliance with chaos were not the signs of a leader, but of a lion lost in his own darkness. What could have been an inspiring revolution became a tale of tyranny and decline. Scar's failure was not in his dreams, but in his choices. Perhaps if he had sought allies among the Pride, embraced a path of dialogue and reconciliation, and led with wisdom rather than vengeance, he could have been a true king. But alas, the Pride lands were not ready for such a story, and neither was Scar. His legacy is a complex one, a reminder that ideas alone are not enough. It's how we pursue them that defines our character. In the end, Scar will forever be remembered as a villain, but also as a character that challenges us to think, to question, and to reflect. His story is a mirror to our own ambitions, our struggles, and our choices.
Well, you know, it wasn't exactly like they was alone, Scar. What are you supposed to do? Kill Mufasa?
Precisely.
So, the next time you find yourself gazing at the stars, remember Scar. Remember his dreams, his flaws, and the lessons he left behind. For in the wild world of the Pride Lands, and in the wild world we inhabit, it's not just about who we are, but who we choose to be. Thank you for joining this deep dive into the lion's den. Stay wild, stay curious, and remember, the circle of life is filled with surprises. Until next time.